Welcome, everyone, to this dynamic conversation about the challenges of Israel's air defense. We're diving into how Israel's current shortages in missile interceptors, particularly with systems like Arrow 3, are shaping some pretty intense geopolitical debates.
Yeah, intriguing topic indeed. So, we're basically looking at how Israel's inability to replenish its critical missile interception systems could change the entire landscape of military support and strategic alliances, right?
Exactly, it's like a ticking time bomb. You know, Israel's lack of sufficient missile interceptors isn't just a technical oversight, it's a strategic vulnerability.
Yep.
And its implications are, well, massive when you factor in modern warfare's reliance on missile defense systems.
Right? And it's even more pressing because, as we see, the global demand for these defense technologies is skyrocketing. So, the US military, which has traditionally supported Israel, is also facing shortages.
Yeah. And what's really fascinating is that this isn't just about hardware, it's about the political calculus at play. There's the concern that if Israel's air defense continues to falter, it might trigger a deep shift in regional power balances.
Yeah, right, and that could lead to an erosion of US influence in the region, a scenario where, frankly, global perceptions of American military might could be significantly affected.
Absolutely. It's like a domino effect, you know? One weak defense could spark a chain reaction leading to a fundamental change in how alliances are formed. And then there's the rising support for Iran, which is bolstered by countries like Russia and China. Yeah, that's a critical point.
Speaking of Iran, their missile capabilities are not to be taken lightly. The threat they pose, especially when they advance their strategic missile programs, makes Israel's situation even more precarious.
Yep, exactly. It's like if you imagine a scenario where an adversary refines their offensive technology while your defense lags behind, it's a bad mix. And then add in external political support for Iran from Russia and China, and you've got a volatile cocktail.
Sure does. But wouldn't you say that Israel has always been pretty resourceful? I mean, their military innovations have historically kept them ahead in many fields.
I get what you're saying, and yeah, Israel has been remarkably innovative, but this situation seems to be an outlier, especially given the global shortages and the fact that missile defense technology is now more of a critical commodity than ever before.
Yeah, that makes sense. Though I do wonder if there's an overemphasis on technological failure here rather than, say, strategic missteps. Sometimes support and logistics can play just as big a role as the technology itself.
True, true. It's like, you might say the problem is multifaceted. On one hand, there's a technical and logistical challenge with the Arrow 3 system falling short right when it's needed the most. And on the other, there's a broader strategic misalignment, with US support being stretched thin globally. Absolutely.
And don't forget the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which is escalating. The failure of defense systems has implications that go far beyond the battlefield. It affects civilians and fuels further instability.
Exactly, and that aspect is often overlooked in these high tech defense debates. The human cost, especially in volatile areas like Gaza, becomes a critical part of the conversation.
Yep.
When lives are at stake, technological failures can have dire repercussions.
So, you mean the whole conflict really exposes how interlinked military preparedness and humanitarian outcomes are, right?
Precisely. And what's interesting is that while Israel's air defense issues might indicate a strategic vulnerability, they also force a global reckoning. The US and its allies now have to consider how shifting alliances, like increasing ties between Iran and powers like Russia and China, could reshape the regional order entirely.
Yeah, that's a profound shift. It's almost as if the failure in one area, missile defense, could be the catalyst for a broader reordering of geopolitical alliances.
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect. Once the confidence in a military system wavers, the trust in its backers and the overall strategic approach starts to crumble.
Yeah,
Think about it. If the US is seen as unable to support Israel adequately, that might embolden other actors in the region.
and that leads to a big question. What's going to happen next? Will we see more countries rethinking their military strategies?
Well, it's tricky. There's a lot of layers here. On one level, Israel is forced to innovate quickly, perhaps accelerating new procurement and technology development. But equally, this scenario might prompt other nations, especially those in volatile areas, to invest even more heavily in missile defense systems.
I see, so it's a double edged sword. While one country struggles, others might seize the opportunity to fill the gap in the market and raise their own defense capabilities.
Right. And then we have the larger international implications. The conversation isn't just about defense mechanics, it's about how global powers are recalibrating their alliances. For instance, if the US struggles to provide effective support because of supply issues, how does that impact its influence in aligning
I get it.
regional interests?
And there's the pushback. Some argue that once this vulnerability becomes public, it might actually force a more realistic approach to military diplomacy and resource allocation. But I'm a bit skeptical. Do you really think we'll see a dramatic realignment, or might it just lead to an arms race of sorts?
It's a valid question, and frankly, while a dramatic realignment is possible, I lean towards seeing it as a catalyst for, like, an intensified arms race. Countries may not want to concede influence, so they'll push harder to acquire the necessary tech and exacerbate existing tensions.
True indeed. That's interesting. So instead of diffusing the situation, these developments could actually escalate military spending and competition, ultimately making conflicts more common?
Yeah, it's like a vicious cycle. A failing defensive system doesn't just reveal a vulnerability, it can also spur aggressive posturing from others, anticipating that same failure or trying to capitalize on it.
And looking further afield, you've got nations like Russia and China poised to support Iran or other regional actors. Their involvement can further complicate matters.
Exactly. It's like the stage is set for a broader geopolitical reshuffle. When global powers get involved in such a multifaceted conflict, everything changes, from economic ties to military pacts. The real question is, how prepared are these systems to handle such rapid shifts?
Yeah, exactly. And there's also the element of public perception. If the public starts to see these defense failures as imminent threats to civilian safety, that could influence government policies in unexpected ways, right?
Absolutely, and that's a key point. Public sentiment can push leaders into making drastic choices. There's a lot of pressure to reinvent defense strategies quickly, and that can lead to hasty decisions that might not be the best in the long run.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's almost ironic. The more advanced our technology becomes, the more vulnerable we seem to get if one piece of the chain fails.
Precisely. It's like our reliance on high-tech systems gives a false sense of security. When one element, such as the Arrow 3 interceptor, fails, it can unravel a lot of strategic assumptions. The whole system becomes exposed, and that uncertainty can lead to even more cautious or aggressive moves globally.
And wouldn't you say that this creates a kind of strategic paradox? The more prepared you think you are with cutting-edge technology, the more devastating the collapse seems to be when it fails.
Exactly. It's kind of like building a house on a single pillar. If that pillar cracks, the whole structure is at risk. So now we're left with these pressing questions about resource allocation, alliance recalibrations, and importantly, the human cost of these high-stakes defense systems.
Yeah, it's a sobering picture, really. And while the technical issues are front and center, the geopolitical ripples they cause are just as alarming.
Absolutely. And I think the takeaway here is that modern warfare, with all its advanced technology, still grapples with very human, very complex problems, like supply chain limitations and shifting political allegiances. It's a reminder that even our most sophisticated defenses have vulnerable points that can trigger major consequences.
Indeed. And as this situation continues to evolve, it'll be fascinating, albeit concerning, to see how global powers adjust their strategies in response to these vulnerabilities.
Right. And we'll be watching closely, analyzing each move as new information comes in. These developments remind us that in the high-stakes world of modern geopolitics, every failure and every success has a ripple effect far beyond the battlefield.
Absolutely. Thanks for this deep dive. It's been really enlightening to explore all these layers. I look forward to our next chat as the situation continues to unfold.
For sure, thanks for joining in, and until next time, stay tuned for more insightful discussions on these critical issues.